What is going on, guys? Matt Downs with Daily Grind Fantasy Sports here to give you the edge for this MMA 10 fight slate on DraftKings. Cannot wait to break it down. If you guys are brand new to this channel, we provide both free and paid content for all daily fantasy sports across all sports. If you could please show your support by hitting that subscribe button, notification bell, and of course smashing that like button for all of our future MMA content. If you would like to know more about becoming a better DFS player and taking down that big GPP, head over to www.dgfantasy.com. On dgfantasy.com, we give you cheat sheets for every major sport, along with ownership projections, actual projections, and strategy for every single slate. We also cover optimal cash plays as well as preferred GPP plays and stacks for specific contest sizes. We do the dirty work for you. We are also currently partnered with Fantasy Cruncher, the best optimizer in the industry. When signing up for our $30 package, you also get a $20 credit to use towards any Fantasy Cruncher product. We provide the best value in the industry. And now let's go ahead and dive right into this MMA 10 fight slate with Kevin. As always, Kevin, you ready to do this?
Absolutely, bro.
All right, let's run it back with last week's slate first.
All right, cool. So last week's slate was UFC Fight Night, Santos versus Walker, Matt. Another takedown in a small GPP for one of our long-term Patreons. He's been absolutely killing it, Jake Cameron. He's been absolutely killing it, been on a roll lately, crushing every week. But other than that, it was somewhat quiet a night, Matt. I told you guys it was going to be a terrible cash card and not to play it. I didn't follow my own advice, Matt, because you know me, I'm just a cash junkie and had to do a cash games. And I was close. But no cigar.
You and TJ, I tell you what.
I know. It's something about it, man. It's just so much more consistent. But it's like you got to know also, like I said, I knew it was a terrible cash card, and I still was just like, fuck it. But,
I took down 2 showdown slates back to back 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, two weeks ago, and then I've been on the 3-week losing streak or showdown streak. Not week. And I just know it's all part of the game. But I'm just watching my money, or watching my bank, or my bankroll on my Yahoo account just go down and down and down. And I just know it's all part of the process.
Exactly, it's all part of the process, especially when you're doing tourneys every single time.
Those 2 wins made up for it by far. I'm still up like $700 over there on Yahoo. But anyway, I just want to talk about it real quick.
No, that's good. That's what you have to do. Like that's better. But yeah, going through the fights. First fight was live, Matt, with a second round sub for Perez. So that panned out pretty well. Second fight, I genuinely don't recall my stance, Matt. What was my stance on Egger and Young? I was trying to think about this. What was my stance?
Fight yellow for both.
Okay, how'd that turn out?
That turned out 104 for Egger. I don't know if that made the optimal. Let me work on. Yep, made the optimal.
Yeah, I was gonna say for her pricing, she must have. That's pretty damn good. So yeah, that one was like borderline live and looked at like she did pretty well. Talked about the power of DSA, gave him a green light, and he had a first round finish. One of my love listers was Smith and Malarkey. Malarkey got it done as the underdog for the second time in a row. Rosa was green for her pace, and she did solid, but certainly didn't break the slate. Casey O'Neill, same thing. Loved Casey O'Neill for cash. Took her in cash. She got the job done. And followed by a solid win, but low-scoring win for Jared Gordon. He was also the underdog, so did okay, but didn't score too well. I actually had all 3 of them in my cash lines, which is 3 winners, so surprised I didn't cash. But Hernandez scared me for his price, Matt. I didn't love him just because we look at historically how he scores, and now he's at a monster price tag, and unfortunately he did really well. I marked him yellow, I think, right?
Yes.
Hernandez.
Yep.
So I didn't fade him, but there's a lot of red flags on that one. What did he score?
He scored 108. Yep, 108 on the dot. Hernandez did not make the optimal.
Okay, that makes me feel a little better. I was going to say, that price tag, man, the price tag. So, yeah, definitely doesn't, I feel pretty good about the yellow then, because 108 is basically his ceiling, and, at his price tag didn't clear.
Yeah.
So, nice. Fuck you, Hernandez. Good. I didn't watch the Misha Joko fight, Matt, so I can't really speak on it, but I had Misha on, and that probably would have pushed me over the cash line. He lost. I don't know how on paper Joko won, looking at the box score. Seemed like striking was very similar. And then, what did Misha score in a loss?
51, and Joko scored 55 in the win, so.
Really?
Yeah, 55.72.
That's what I'm talking about, bro. Like, I don't get that. Like, yeah. I mean, I know takedowns will inflate that a little bit, but like,
that was the guy you talked about how much you hated, right?
Joko. Yep.
Yeah.
Talked about. I went on a tangent how much.
Yeah,
he
I remember
sucks.
that. Yep.
There you go. 50 points to win. And I had Misha for that reason, and that's crazy. That's fucking insane. I can't believe that. So he scored more in a loss.
Judges must have been playing DraftKings. Yeah.
Yeah. That's insane. But Anyway, I said I like Price more than Oliveira, and he won a moderate decision. Holland Dawkins was live, but did end in a first round draw, so that kind of sucked. I actually don't even know what happened in that one. Dawkins and Holland. I'm trying to find it real quick. Dawkins, Holland. Something happened that obviously ended. I don't know if it was a groin shot or.
Oh,
no
I see that.
contest.
14.5 and 7.32. We marked them both yellow. So.
Accidental clash of heads. Actually, no, I did see. I lied. I watched this. So,
I lied. I might have watched this. Yeah.
So no, I didn't watch the fight. I watched
Okay.
the replay because I did look it up and I couldn't remember what happened. So they smashed heads and Holland went down. And Dawkins like finished the fight, I think, after with like a rear naked choke or something. And they like were like, no, he was dead. Yeah, I think it was because now that they can review replays, I think, which is like good because they always should have. I think they were like, yeah, no, there was a clash of heads that caused the whole event because like, historically speaking, like it would be like tough luck, you know what I mean?
Right.
But
just like baseball,
yeah,
hey, we have technology, so we should probably use it now. Yeah, makes sense.
Dude, took long enough, exactly. Yeah, main event was a 5-rounder, Matt, and I actually did say this had fade potential just because of the finish. Being a high finish chance on two, like, not like heavy powered guys seems like you want it, but in a 5-rounder, and especially at the price, you never know. Like they could easily get a second round knockout, score 90 points, and then you're not making the optimal. You know what I mean? But my fucking goodness, man, I didn't watch this fight. Again, I didn't watch much of this card.
I watched our Discord chat, but that was about it.
Yeah, what the hell happened in this card? I've never seen a combined score lower than, or a worse looking box score in a 5-round fight in my entire life of watching fights. I've been watching UFC since UFC 15, and I have never seen anything like it. Like
especially with these two, right? Because I mean, you look at the previous fights, and I remember going through Santos's scores, and I was like 111, 128, 118, 92,
crazy. What was their final score each?
Do you want? This is the worst I think I've ever seen.
I haven't seen it.
47.6 for Santos.
47 as the
winner. Yep. 19.2 for Walker
in a 5-round fight. They fought for 25 minutes, Matt.
Yes, that's what they do. Showing.
Look at each other
through looks like Walker threw 196 strikes, landed 48, and that's it.
196. That's a lot of strikes to throw. And
130. Did I say 196? 130.
Yeah. That's I was gonna say that's crazy.
Yeah, landed 48. So
wild.
We did say, hey, you could fade it, but it's not in the right way. We didn't expect that. We didn't expect that to happen at all.
Nobody expected that. That's bananas. I can't believe that. I looked at the box score and was like, am I missing something here? Like, I asked the Discord. I was like, I must be missing something here. Right. But yeah, anyway. So looking over, we got the slate for this one, man. It's a short slate, so we'll piss through it pretty quick. But first fight, we got Steve Garcia versus Charlie Ontiveros. Garcia as the heavy pay-up option is 0-1 in the UFC, which is a little bit scary. You guys know how much I love. It's every time, man. It's always the first fight on the slate that is some giant pay-up option who has some shitty record in the UFC, and it's like, do you want to ruin your night real quick, or maybe make your night real quick?
Right.
But it was a quality decision loss to Luis Pena, where he looked solid and debatably won that fight. Outside of the UFC, Garcia has shown some huge power, solid stand-up skills, and has high-level experience in Bellator. Charlie is also 0-1 in the UFC, with his sole loss coming to a very talented fighter in Kevin Holland, as we just mentioned. So there's a lot of potential here, Matt. I mean, both guys, have quality losses in the UFC, so I don't necessarily think they're not like at this caliber. I think they just ran into some buzzsaws early, but it isn't my favorite pick in terms of talent, but this fight does boast a -250 finish chance, Matt, on a small card, so you got to give it a double green respect off the rip for that reason. I think the line should be closer given what we know, but Garcia did look much better in his debut than Charlie did. Charlie got washed a little bit in his fight. Garcia was a little closer. Here's where I'm going to drop some interesting facts on Matt that I think is going to push this needle for this fight and show a lot of upside. Charlie has been knocked out in all 7 of his professional losses. All 7 of his professional losses. And we know Garcia has hands, so that also bodes well for Garcia. The other interesting fact is that I believe from what I've seen in this for this fight, it's at lightweight, Matt. Charlie, I mean, and when I read this for the first time, my brain broke a little bit. I was like looking at their previous information and stuff like that, and I was like, Garcia lost to Luis Pena, and I was like, Ontiveros lost to Kevin Holland. I was like, that doesn't fucking sound right. I was like, well, I was like, I'm thinking of Luis Pena. I'm like, isn't Luis Pena a lightweight? And I was like, I know for a fact Kevin Holland's a middleweight, and that's what's happening. So Oliveira is going from middleweight and dropping to 30 pounds for this fight now. Now he's fighting lightweight. Now, granted, he's listed as a welterweight. So I believe he's probably welterweight making the jump once he got his UFC call to middleweight. You know, the UFC calls, you answer. And I am assuming that he's really a welter going down to lightweight. But he's going to be a big lightweight. He's 6'2". I mean, it's still crazy. What are we looking like on this fight?
Yeah, so you guys know I always bring up the benchmark percentages, the top 6 on the card that could potentially be cash options. Anything under that is definitely more GPP viable. That being said, Garcia is just below that cusp. I'm still carrying higher ownership. That benchmark percentage, and again, because it's a 10-fight slate, this is going to surprise you. I don't think we've ever seen this high of ownership skewed. 40.2, Kevin, is the benchmark. 40.2. So yeah, there's a lot of skewed ownership, which means that there's a lot of leverage potential on this card, even with only 10 fights. Garcia is 39.4, so right below that cusp, and did not make the optimal when I crunched it based on ownership, so it looks like he will be a contrarian play. On the Veros, 16.6, which you have to keep in mind, relatively to the rest of the ownership, very, very low, the second lowest on the card.
Damn.
So
that's.
I'm assuming you like leverage potential on both sides, yes or no?
100%. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Like I said, there's a huge finish chance off the rip. It makes sense to me. So,
right.
I mean, it's a small slate.
Green light, by the way?
Probably hammer that.
Yep,
double green.
Got it.
Moving on, we have Lupita Goninas versus Sylvana Juarez. Easy cash, no brainer for Goninas. She's a minus 225 at 8,600 with the pullout. They never really changed that pricing. Juarez doesn't have pricing, I don't believe, Matt.
Nope, not yet.
So I don't know if she ever will. Here's the thing, like, you're really looking at Goninas now, and I like Goninas at the pricing. She did lose in her UFC debut, and Juarez has actually been pretty tough outside the UFC, Matt. And she's a pretty good finisher, so it is a little bit dangerous, but I mean, we are looking at a minus 225 for 8,600 still, so I do think Goninas is live.
So Goninas at 8,600 is carrying the benchmark percent at 40.2, and that was before updates, before her other fighter gets added. So that can only go up, I would assume. So it definitely looks like a cash option here. I'm going to go ahead and put the lock button on there just to remind us. That 40.2 is definitely going to be a cash option. However, her fighter, which I don't remember you saying her name. You have plenty of times, but I
Juarez,
my head.
Yeah.
Okay, sure. She seems like leverage potential if she gets added. Again, because of the price tag, I'm assuming, which would be closer to what, the low 700s, mid-range 700s. And nobody's going to touch her.
7,000s, yeah.
Nobody's going to touch her because of her odds to win the fight, I think. Again, we're speaking off of experience here, and that could easily break the card.
Yeah, 100%. And I do like the fact that, like I said, she's a very good finisher on a small slate.
There you go.
There's potential. She has like 8 finishes out of her 10 professional wins, so she's
imaginary tough. Green light, guys, for you looking at that screen right now. Yep.
Moving on, we got Charles Rosa versus Damon Jackson. This will be a double green for me. I'll say the style matchup for the fight is a little concerning. Both of these guys are very good grapplers. That's how they make their bread. Rosa is a hard guy to put away. We know that. All that considered, Rosa has an 80% finish chance in his wins. Jackson has a 95% finish rate in his wins. All of his losses coming by way of finish too. So there's a lot of potential here. It is a near even line at plus 110 for a finish chance, but that's just way too enticing to pass up knowing what we know at this pricing at 7,800 and 8,400. I would love to go, like I said, it's double green. I'd love to go love lister. But just like I said, with the style matchup, I see potential for this to be like a little bit underwhelming, especially for finishability. But Jackson's pretty accomplished wrestler. We haven't seen it break it out too much, but and he was getting lit up by Bektic before he caught him in his last with takedowns. But I think he has better wrestling than Rosa. But again, they're both good grapplers. I just don't know. There's a lot of volatility in this one. Sometimes volatility is good. I don't think this is necessarily positive volatility, Matt. This is volatility where like it could turn into a grappling, very like low exchange where one guy gets 2 takedowns, maybe 3, rides him out, builds up a little bit of riding time in the control time, but doesn't end up finishing him or doing too much from that top position. So, there's potential. There's red and green lights all over this one.
Yeah, Jackson at his price tag, I think, is making him relatively chalky, 38.8. I know it's below that cusp, but again, when I ran the lineup with just looking at ownership, he actually did make it in there. So I think, again, because of that price tag makes him kind of intriguing, Kevin. Don't know if you agree with that. And Rosa,
for cash?
For cash, yeah. For cash. And then for Rosa at $7,800, 19.5%. So a lot lower of ownership there and more leverage potential.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. I mean, it's like I said, both have potential. I do like both. It's double green. Love the pricing. It's not too hard to clear, especially on a 10-fight slate. It's just, I do see a couple little red flags here.
All right, moving on.
Big fan of this one. Alexander Romanoff versus Jared Vanderaa. Romanoff was a little bit of a disappointment his last fight, Matt. In terms of scoring, I think he didn't do too good. What did he score last fight?
67.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. But that was against an elite grappler like Juan Espino. I actually thought Romanoff showed a lot of versatility and in the face of attrition, because Romanoff is a good wrestler for heavyweight. Juan Espino is maybe the best grappler in the division. And Juan Espino took him down 4 times, and most people don't get taken down 4 times by Juan Espino and live to tell the tale, Matt. Weird fight that, got ended early anyway when Romanoff won a decision. It was like a 3rd round decision, like halfway through the 3rd round. I can't remember why, but something happened. I think there was like a legal shot and they just judged it there. But well-rounded guy, very well-rounded, big power, strong wrestling, especially for heavyweight. Like I said, he'll never face probably a better grappler in his career than Juan Espino, in my opinion. Real put-away ability with his own submissions. I think it was just a tough matchup last time. He's an obvious levelister on the slate as the heaviest favorite and the highest finish chance on a very small card. And he has the highest ceiling with his wrestling. Look at his scoring before that, Matt. What was his scoring before his last one?
They both cleared 100, 110, 127.
Yeah, 127 is phenomenal. So a lot of people just straight up can't do that, Matt, and will never hit that in their career. It's a pretty high ceiling. So I like that. I know we've been skewed with all the fucking Merab Divalishvilis of the world who score 160, and we're like, but 127 is high. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just because Christian McCaffrey or Aaron Jones is scoring 49 points doesn't mean 33 points isn't high. Got to change our standards a little bit here. But I'm going to go green on Vanderaa too. He's a heavy-handed heavyweight, as we often see, and coming off a stellar performance, he had landed 121 sig strikes against Justin Tafa. We also saw some holes in Romanoff's game last fight. So I believe in the talent of Romanoff. I really do think Romanoff wins this. I think he's a very talented heavyweight, more than Vanderaa. So Jared will fall short of love list. He'll be green, but I'll put Romanoff in the love list.
All right. So Romanoff is the 2nd highest owned on the card, and I think that was pretty. That's really not surprising there. The minus 667 being the heaviest favorite on the card, 49.6% ownership. However, Vanderaa is the lowest on the card at 8.1, being the heaviest underdog. Vegas is giving him a 13% chance to win. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, something like that. And I was thinking I had like 10 in my head. I mean, you're really banking on probably a catch. I don't think he maybe outpaces him on his feet a little bit. It's not impossible, but
you do give him a fighter's chance, is what you're saying.
I'll give him a fighter's chance. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, you want to get contrarian on the slate. You know what I mean? It's like it's a very small slate. Most of these fights are going to be live to a degree. I just think if you want to get weird, I mean, if you want to get a chance, like that's the thing. Like say you take down this slate and you pick all chalk and you take down this slate. I'm not saying you're not going to have an awesome fucking night. You know what I mean? You're going to, anytime you get a takedown in like the $100,000 contest.
You honestly, I will say this is the one card where you might not, even if you take down the big one, because there's going to be, if the chalk does hit.
Chalk.
Yeah, if the chalk does hit.
But I'm saying, like, let's put it this way. I mean, do we think we're going to split more than 100 ways? Maybe. I mean, I don't know. Like, maybe.
You might be scared for me to give me that answer. Yeah, I mean, it could
happen, I guess.
It could on smaller slates, and I see it all the time on showdowns. I don't know if I've told you this story yet, but I took down the showdown. This was 3 nights ago, and I count this as a losing night, even though I took it down because I didn't accidentally. I knew that I put a chalk lineup in there, and of course, it was the one that hit. I lost money. Money because of how many other people had that lineup combination. I was maxing around 150, but I put down $150, and I came out with 136. So I only lost $14, but it was just like, seriously? I took down the biggest slate. What is happening?
That's insanity. So yeah, I mean that's kind of what we're talking about though, Matt. Like where if
you're an MMA,
say you take a chance, you pick Vanderaa or something like that, and he ends up winning. Like now you might be on an island. Like, you know what I mean? Right. Yeah, the odds of winning are far less, or like making your money back or getting the takedown. But like say it does happen to be the takedown and you do have Vanderaa, I mean, you're looking pretty good. Like, you know what I mean? You're still going to be, no matter what, it's a 10 fight slate. I would not bank on being on an island. You're going to be like by yourself. Like, you know what I mean? It might be a 2 or 3 person island, no matter how you slice this card, even if you, just because of how many possible combinations there are on this card being only 10 fights. You know what I mean?
There's a 5% discrepancy. Has a 13% chance to win, but he's only 8.1% owned. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah, so, just something to think about. As much as I love Romanoff, and we'll have him in just about every lineup. But something to think about.
That being said, I'll be playing cash for the chalkies lineup.
Yeah, exactly. I'll be playing cash. Tiger can't change the stripes, Matt. So moving on, we got Chris Gutierrez versus Felipe Colares. Gutierrez as a minus 265 at 8,900 is value. I said that I think I said earlier, Matt, this card has a ton of value for pay up options. If you just look at the lines to price ratio, obviously Goninas being a pullout fight helps that, but like even Garcia at 9,100 as a minus 310 is crazy. You look at Romanoff at 9,200, a minus 650 is crazy. At 9,200, Matt, we'll see like a minus 300. You know what I mean? That's actually a very, very nice line. Gutierrez, $8,900, a minus 265 line. Very, very healthy line right there. Other than that, Gutierrez fucking puts me to sleep. I think I like him. I think he's a good winner. His volume just isn't it, Matt. Throughout his 6 UFC fights, he's won, I believe. Let me see. How many fights has he won in the UFC? I'll tell you this. Throughout his 6 UFC fights, he has not once hit over 70 significant strikes. And that's pretty miserable because he has only one finish, I think, during that span. So he just his pace is just friggin' terrible. It's a small card, so I'll put him as yellow. I can't red light necessarily anybody on a 10-fight slate, but I'm not excited about it. Add to the fact that Clara has had all 4 of his UFC fights go to a decision, and he's never been finished himself. This just makes for an overall yellow fight, Matt, for both sides, and it's one of my least favorite ones on the slate for sure.
Yeah, well, this is the fight that nobody wants to touch, unfortunately, Kevin. So the ownership's low on both these guys, which makes it makes this one kind of annoying. Gutierrez at 31.1, which relatively speaking to the other ownerships that we said, that's pretty low, and even as a heavy favorite. And then Clara's 28.5, which actually seems pretty high compared to Gutierrez. So I think there's honestly a lot more leverage just on Gutierrez as a winner, which is kind of odd to say out loud, but there is. So I do think that Clara's is a little bit too high for my liking for that big of a. Vegas is giving him a 29% chance to win. So it sounds about right. Yeah, I think there's leverage potential here, and like you said, you shouldn't red light any fight on this card unless it's completely obvious, which it looks like this one's not super obvious to fade, especially the pricing.
Yeah, this one I can't get up for, Matt. I mean, it's again small slate. I think it happen. I'm not gonna fade it or like just completely ignore it, but it's just there's so many better fights. It's just what is good. Like read Gutierrez past win scores.
Gutierrez past wins. Are we talking about finishes or all of them or
just
what?
wins? Just all his wins.
Okay, decision 75. This was the knockout. 114 was his highest ever. 64 decision. 58 decision. So it looks like we won a knockout.
Yeah, it's a terrible.
What's the finish chance again?
Plus 150. See where I'm coming from?
Yeah,
see where I'm coming from?
150 is annoying because it's like, okay, now it's definitely not impossible. It's definitely not. No, so if he does knock him out, yeah, it'd break the slate. I think Gutierrez is nice leverage though. I do.
Yeah, I just it's not that I couldn't do it. It's just I'm not a huge fan.
Sure.
But moving on, Matt, we have Phil Hawes versus a ghost at this point. We have a fight pullout, which sucks. Phil Hawes now fighting Chris Curtis, I believe.
This just happened. Yep.
So this is brand new. So we'll leave this one a little bit to the Patreon content as well, and I won't touch on it too much. He was going to fight Deron Winn. Sucks because I loved it for Deron Winn. Deron Winn's like my favorite punt, just being an elite wrestler. We've seen him in Deron Winn's last fight. He was 7,300, very similar price tag to his 7,200 in this fight, and he racked up 12 takedowns and broke the slate. We'll love for that to happen again, or the potential, but it's not going to happen. Now Phil Hawes comes in at super value at a rough line of minus 450, which isn't even that much crazier than his one against Winn, but I do believe just knowing stylistically, Phil Hawes, good wrestler. Deron Winn, better wrestler. So I think that would have been actually a pretty tough fight for him stylistically. This is going to be a much easier fight stylistically. So now we're looking at Phil Hawes at near a minus 450, just opening here from what I'm seeing at 9K. So I think Phil Hawes is just a lock.
Yeah, if they redid the pricing, he'd be the second highest, probably potentially being the highest priced on the card. So
yeah,
could be a 9,200, 9,300, but you're getting 9,000 for him. So yeah, there's a slight discount. 42% owned, and I expect it's only going to rise. Again, on our screen, we still have Deron Winn and the player pool. So once he does get pulled out, ownership will be updated in the morning for you guys. But yes, this will be super chalk.
Yeah, he's got good wrestling, man, and I just think, Chris Curtis is just going to find himself in just kind of a bad
do you give
spot.
Curtis any chance whatsoever? We don't know his ownership
pricing right now. Yeah, I don't think he has pricing, Matt. Yeah. But he's making his UFC debut. He's one of these guys, like, he's got power from what I've seen. Here's the thing. It's going to be like, as much as I said, like stylistically. So what I saw in Chris Curtis, Matt, so far is like, he's got hands. He's got, I think it's either like literally has 26 wins and it's all knockouts and decisions. He has like one submission. So maybe he has superior hands to Hawes. There's not an impossibility. Maybe he could catch Hawes. That said, it looks like he could have a really miserable night getting taking down the shit kicked out of him. Like, it's just, I feel like it's going to be a bad matchup. Phil Hawes is a good wrestler.
Okay.
So I'm going to go all in on Hawes.
Gotcha. Makes sense.
Moving on, we got Sabina Mazo versus Maria Agapova. Mazo will be green off the rip as the favorite. Not the best finisher ever, but she has very sound and technical striking, Matt. Carries a strong pace. This is important, obviously, considering it's a 10-fight slate, and she's on the 8,300. She's also a minus 175 favorite at 8,300, Matt. Like I said, really good favorite pricing here. You know what I mean? Minus 175 at 8,300 is just a little bit off. Like, minus 175 is like, we've seen people 8,700, 8,800 at that. So a little bit value. She has yet to fall short of 106 strikes and a win, which gives her a very solid floor. I'm cool with Agapova as well. I like her finish ability more than Mazo, and her $400 cheaper is nice. I do think Mazo wins this, but not a shock if Agapova catches her in a submission or even with a hard punch.
And you know what that means? Huge leverage potential here. Agapova and Mazo 40.8%, which I believe is the fourth highest on the card. And then Agapova, obviously the slight underdog, but the pricing doesn't really make sense for it. $7,900, 24.9. So huge leverage potential there. Do you green light or yellow light these fighters?
Mazo green. I'll put Agapova yellow. She has finish ability. She does good grappling, and she can put people away, but I'm not going to go higher than yellow on her.
All right, moving on.
We got Tim Elliott versus Matthias Nicolau.
Elliott's the one you hate, right?
Elliott's the one I love hate. Yeah,
okay,
love
gotcha.
hate. Was a big fan of his for a long time, but he's so fucking annoying in DFS. He's a headache in DFS. His performance are all over the place. His scoring all over the place. You truly never know which Tim Elliott you're gonna get. He's looked great. He won the Redemption Series, I believe. Had a fight with Demetrius Johnson. He's looked absolutely amazing at points in his career, Matt. But he's looked absolutely terrible, and he always gets caught in submissions as the person winning the fight. Which is, there's nothing more frustrating from a DFS perspective than someone who can light someone up with takedowns, has that ceiling to score high, and then fucks it up. You know what I mean? They're like all the time. So it's very frustrating. This is tough. He like I said, he can take down, he can strike, he can submit people, but he also gets submitted so bad. I think as the underdog, he isn't the worst flyer in the world, but I'm pretty over the Tim Elliott roller coaster personally, Matt. So I'll put him yellow. Matthias is back again after a split decision win over Manel Kopp in his UFC return. He was cut, I believe, in 2018 after a loss to Dustin Ortiz, Matt, but he was 3-0 in the UFC prior to that. So, he's back in the mix. He beat some solid bantamweights like Louis Smolka, John Moraga during that span. Very good, bantams. And now he makes his, his fight. I don't think it's a return necessarily because I think he fought last time at fly. But yeah, he's a flyweight now. He can finish a bit. His pace is But I do think he should win this one at solid pricing. But he'll be yellow too. This whole fight is just okay, Matt.
Okay, yeah. If volatile in the dictionary had a definition, it would be Tim Elliott. That's a new definition. So
volatility.
Tim Elliott 25.6%, Nikolai 40.2, which is tied for the fifth highest. So do you consider him a cash option there, Nikolai? Is my question. It doesn't seem like it after.
Fucking Elliott, man. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah,
Elliott, yes, because Elliott sucks, but no, because Elliott's awesome.
Because Elliott doesn't suck.
Yeah, because he doesn't suck.
Yeah, I don't know. This one's interesting, and the ownership makes sense. I think because of the price tag here, $8,500 for a minus 200, like on surface level, Kevin, that looks good. Like it just does. But like for all the reasons that you just said, I don't know.
Yeah,
but,
I don't know, man. It's so hit or miss.
We'll mark this yellow. Yep.
Yeah, it's just I hate
yellow with a lot of upside.
Yellow with some upside for sure. That's a good way to put it, Matt. Moving on to the co-main, we got Randy Brown versus Jared Gooden. Randy Brown back in the mix. Has a tough Jared Gooden on the other side. I like Brown, Massachusetts guy. Has a pretty solid career in the UFC, 7-4. And his 4 losses are all quality. I think he's an above average fighter for this standard and has, good finish ability. Gooden's also a good finisher, but doesn't quite have the same success history as Brown. And we've seen his gas tank in need of some work before. Regardless, I think this fight match should be a love lister on both sides, especially on a small slate. A ton of upside. Brown has finished in 5 of his last 6 wins. We know Gooden is a powerhouse, and I think this one lives up to the minus 185 finish chance, and the winner should score pretty well here.
Interesting. Ownership's low. Ownership's low on both of them. Randy Brown, 36.4. Gooden, 22.8, Kevin. Both below that benchmark.
Why don't you read both their win scores? I'm just curious if you don't mind.
Well, Gooden doesn't have it UFC win, does he?
Maybe one. I want to say he's one. Let me see.
Yeah, because it's showing 2 losses for me.
I want to say he's 1-2. Yes.
You sure that was in the UFC?
Yes.
I don't have that one, so I don't know if Fantasy Cruncher just downloaded that.
Yes, I'm finding it right now. So he actually it was a 1 minute 8 second knockout of Nicholas Stoles in his last fight.
That one probably made the optimal.
Obviously, yeah, definitely cleared 100.
Okay.
So that's amazing. What about Randy Brown?
And Randy Brown, in his win, submission 110, submission 90, 95 for a knockout, 71 in a decision, 110 in a knockout. So you want this guy to knock out or submit, pretty much.
Yeah, which he does usually. Don't hate it, especially with Jared Gooden on the other side. I think that's a good dance partner.
Especially 8,800.
So, yeah.
All right.
So love that.
Last but not least.
Last but not least, we have the main event, Mckenzie Dern versus Marina Rodriguez.
Oh, wow.
Short and sweet here. This is obvious, super obvious pick, being never fade a main event on a 10 fight slate. It just doesn't really make sense. Perfect pricing as the only 5-rounder and a 10 fight slate. Like I said, it's 8,200 versus 8K.
The price is just what?
Don't fade this. Yeah. I don't think you'll ever see a score like you did in the main event last slate. But it's a 10 fight slate, like I said. So, got to put all your eggs in this basket and just hope it hits. I think you have to do that with all 10 fight slates, Matt. You can't get too mix and matchy. You just got to kind of make some hard stances if you want to
Absolutely.
And yeah, making hard stances gives you a less chance to cash, but it makes it so you're going to have a much better chance to actually make some money. You know what I mean?
I can already tell you my hard stance after seeing this is insane.
Yeah.
You're going to be mind blown.
Really? Okay. So I'll tell you this, Matt, too. I actually have a somewhat hard stance in this one, too.
Okay.
And I'm
it's probably not the same
now.
one. Yeah.
I know. I'm fucking terrified.
You might not say the same thing after hearing the ownership. But
okay, so my hard stance. I want to tell you mine first. Okay. My hard stance, and I think so. I'll tell you this. I really do believe that Marina Rodriguez is a super good fighter. Both these women are wicked talented. Wicked talented. I love both of them. I think Marina Rodriguez is awesome. I think because I'm doing hard stances, I am locking in 100% of Dern. I'm just gonna lock her in, set it and forget it. Whatever you tell me might change that map, but she is such an elite grappler that I think she just has such a distinct advantage. She is a -175 at 8,200, which is unreal in terms of value. We've seen people at 8,200 as the underdog, Matt. And that doesn't mean Marina Rodriguez 175 is nothing. Marina Rodriguez can come out and absolutely fuck her up. She might have the advantage on her feet with her hands. I'm just saying, got to take a hard stance here, so I'm going to go Dern 100%. Change my mind or don't change my mind. Go.
Oh, I mean, you're a cash player, right? So this isn't going to change it. But this is the weirdest ownership to price tag to finish chance to win chance I've ever seen in my entire life of covering MMA. And again, the ownership can change and probably will change, but based on everything you just said, Mckenzie Dern at $8,200 on service level, fantastic. Obviously the highest owned on the slate at 51.9%. However, I do not at all get Marina Rodriguez's ownership potential. 24.5. That's half of Mckenzie Dern's at $8,000 with a 40% chance to win this thing. To me, that looks completely off, and you've been nothing but right taking hard stances on main events. I've noticed this, by the way. I've been keeping track. You haven't gotten any of these wrong, so this is terrifying. But if I'm getting different, listen to this, guys. If I'm getting different, the top 25% of GPP tournaments cash. The top 22 to 25%, depending on what contest you enter. If Marina Rodriguez wins this thing, you'll be sitting on an island. The top 25%, because she's only 24.1% owned, and she has a 40% chance to win this thing. So to me, that looks like the easiest hard stance that you could possibly take on any card. And in the discrepancy of the ownership, assuming that 24.5% is right.
And what was Dern's ownership again? Sorry.
51.9, so over half the field. I mean, to me, that looks like an obvious hard stance if you're going to take one. Just based on the ownership. The ownership does not make any sense. I think you can at least agree with me in terms of the ownership.
100%, Matt. Because I also believe in the talent of Marina Rodriguez. Right. I think she's very good. I really do.
And again, Dern should win this thing. 60% chance to win, which is a little bit lower than I expected. 60% chance. I'm just double checking. But yeah, I mean, you've been right on these, and she could easily win this thing. But if I'm taking a hard stance, I'm trying to take down the GPP. You're now entering 150 lineups with 100% exposure to Marina Rodriguez. If you win that secures one fighter win at 24.5% ownership. To me, that's an obvious stance. But hey, guys, let me know if you decide to do that. I'd be interested to see those results.
Like I said, Matt, there's a lot of times I'll sit there and tell you that the ownership I don't give a shit if the talent level, it was like the Ortega
Right.
and Volkanovski fight. I was like, I think Volkanovski's that much better. And, people say he almost got submitted, this, that, and the other thing, and maybe he did, maybe he didn't, but he lit him up. Absolutely. I think he doubled his strikes or something, or had 100 strikes more than like, this isn't one of those cases. Like, I believe in Dern, but I believe in Rodriguez too. I think she's very talented. I think both are very talented. So,
At that ownership, oh my gosh, there's so many I can compare to. Like Agapova, she's lower ownership than Agapova, Kevin. Like, what is
make
that?
sense. Yeah.
You know? Anyway,
I
it's a
don't get
5-rounder,
that.
so I'm just saying.
Yeah.
All right,
that makes no sense to me.
let's run it back. Your core, GPP, and punts. If you still have any for punts. I don't know if you do.
So I got nope, I don't. I have core, Dern Rodriguez, obviously. We just talked about it. GPP plays, Romanoff, high floor with his wrestling, great put away ability, still undefeated. Hawes may have, again, I had Hawes in GPP when he was fighting Win. I have him, maybe my favorite pick on the slate for GPP now that he's not fighting Win.
And cash.
In cash or GPP, Matt, or GPP. Yes. I mean, you're getting someone who's a minus 450.
He's an overall good play.
Who's a good finisher and has a good floor with his takedowns. He could, again, if he comes out and lights, again, with his new opponent being a striker, Matt, he might break the slate. He might drop 7, 8 takedowns on him and beat the shit out of him and, put him away. Then Brown Gooden, obvious pick on the slate, this size for pricing and finish chance, and you just told me the ownership's pretty low, so that's cool.
Very low.
Yeah, love that. And then punts, I don't have any because Strawn wins dead to the world.
All right, so if there's a punt that decides to win and decides to take over the slate, then you guys can all blame it on Kevin, all right, in the comment section. Want to see those trolls come out. All right, guys, thanks for tuning into this video. If you guys did enjoy this content, please do hit that subscribe button, notification bell, and of course, smash that like button for all of our future MMA content. With all that being said, have a great rest of your weekend, and let's cash.